Okay, I need to go live on Instagram here we go. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Creators Lounge live show. Thank you again for coming back. Last week was the first week, and so made it back for a second week. I didn't give up. So thank you all for stopping by and watching today's episode, and hopefully you get a lot from it. I'm pretty pumped about this, pretty excited about getting this going. So I'm lining up several guests and confirming with many of them. So really quick, just to give you an idea what this whole thing's about, why I put this together, is I want to provide a space for basically the creators now just to talk about creativity and talk about the whole process of what we do, why we do it, what drives us, what are some of the things we're working on. So looking at different field. So I work in education, but I also do a lot of stuff outside. I'm a musician myself. I'm a woodworker. So there's so many things that I'm working on. I create. So I'm looking to get musicians on the show, artists, craft workers, graphic designer, cinematographers, photographers, and a whole lot of other just talking about creative and hopefully be sharing some things that you can learn from and maybe inspire you. So if you haven't done so, also subscribe to the channel. I would appreciate if you'd subscribe and make sure you turn on notifications so that the next time this comes on live, you're notified. And also whenever I release video, in fact, yesterday, every Tuesday, I release a video. You'll be able to see that as well. So today, speaking of guests, I was talking about earlier, I've got a super special guest, a good friend of mine that I've actually connected with him. I want to say maybe 3-4 years ago. Time flies. I mean, it's probably more than that. And the first when I met him, it was just, I would say, like, we hit it off. It was kindred spirits. You know, first of all, we're both photographers and we both love shooting video. So we talk a lot of shop and nerd out when we're together and text each other like, did you see this tool? This thing that came out? What do you think? Did you see this? And sometimes he's like, hey, look what I got. And I'm like, oh, now I have to get one. But my good friend, Albert Thomas, is with us today. So I'm going to go ahead and bring him in here. Let's go with this shot right here. Albert, what's going on, man?
How's it going?
I'm going well, man. I'm super excited to have you on the show today. For those of you who don't, for the folks, for the benefit of those out there, just kind of give you some time to kind of say who you are and just kind of introductions here.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for the opportunity. I'm super excited to be able to join in and kind of, I guess, let everyone in on some of the conversations we have when we're offline. And so, yeah, a little bit about me. Al Thomas. I go by EducoPilot just about everywhere on Instagram, Twitter. My website is educopilot.com. I'm an educator. I am a filmmaker, photographer. I love creating. So anything that it allows me to capture the moment and be able to share that and share stories, I'm all about that and love those opportunities. So that's me in a nutshell.
And speaking of websites, so I'm gonna throw your website up here. See, hopefully it comes up, and I'm not seeing it come up. But hey, you know what? Oh well, it doesn't come up. That's cool. This is hiccups that happened. But I was looking at your site and I was telling we talked a little bit yesterday. You need to check out his website. It's incredible. He did a great job on it, and one of those things that we both kind of work in the education field, and one of our big things is making things easy for people to get to and to read. And a lot of times we tend to, I would say, when I say we in the education field, sometimes we tend to like just throw stuff everywhere and just hopefully it sticks and hopefully some people will get something, and it's just like, no, it just doesn't look right. But you need to check out his website. It's incredible. You did a great job on it.
No, I appreciate that. And so I definitely have seen the splatter effect of just get it up. And it's, hey, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So Well, we were chatting a little bit before. Maybe we can kind of bring in the conversation we were having, but geeking out on stuff, and I think it all has to do with creativity and the whole creative process. So we were having I don't know if you can see behind Albert's. In fact, I'm going to switch view here because I do want to just kind of bring this into the frame there. So he's got a poster of Batman, and we just started geeking out on Batman a bit. So just so people know share that story where you were telling me, Albert.
Oh, so you're gonna make me nerd out already?
Yeah, man.
So yeah, in the background I do have the Kevin Conroy. If you are a fan of Batman, you know who he is. He is the iconic voice of Batman. I think it was Batman animated series where he first started. But if you've ever heard any voice from let's say the late '90s and forward. His voice is literally every Batman after that has been based off of his voice. So he is a huge part of the Batman legacy. So yeah, I got a chance to meet him and get that poster autograph. So it was a great moment.
Little bit of jealousy, I got to say. But
hey, next time I'll make sure to get one too.
Well, one of the things I was going to share this before we were talking is I had an opportunity to meet the voice of Joker. Years ago when I lived in San Diego, it was actually at Comic-Con. We were out there walking and he was standing around. This was after Star Wars and before, a lot of people didn't really know he was the voice of Joker. And so there was several people. It was a small crowd around it. And this was out in this village, this kind of seaport type village. And my wife, we were dating at the time, was like, that's Mark Hamill. And now if you were to see him now, you wouldn't be able to get close to him at all. It's like, yeah. So he's out there. He was promoting a comic book he wrote, The Black Pearl, about a photographer who's kind of investigative and stuff like. Pretty cool. But anyways, like, hey, he's really cool. And so, but these are the I don't know, talking about influences and stuff like that. But growing up watching him in Star Wars and in his voice, the Joker voice, just. I love watching when he's recording that and the whole process about behind the scenes. I love the behind the scenes stuff. I love seeing how stuff is made and created and just that whole thing. And I think I love kind of what we're doing right now is just nerding out on that kind of stuff. So I'm getting a little bit of we got a little bit of a choppy video happening here. It's probably because. Internet has been used a lot lately.
It's Batman.
Yeah, it's Batman. So if your video is choppy, sorry. I'm just doing the best I can here. But we were talking about some stuff and projects that when we get together. So Albert and I, I mentioned earlier, we're both photographers and we love shooting video. And whenever we get together, we do a lot of these photo walks. We like hey, I'm down in Austin. I was like, hey man, let's go out and do some night shooting. And man, he's just so he just obliges. Yeah, let's get together. And first of all, thanks to his wife for letting him hang out with me and stuff like that. But it's just really neat to go and talk about the whole experience. And so what are some things you're kind of working on as far as like. We right now with social distancing, we're not able to kind of get together. I think it was maybe about a month and a half, maybe that we were together. Right, yeah. So the alt South by Southwest. There was an alt, and so we were there hanging out for that. But what are you working on right now?
Yeah, and so that was a great time, and I actually remembered just kind of being able to get out and explore, and realizing that was the last time I was able to get out. And actually do some street photography up to that level. So currently I am just kind of sharing and helping out. There's been a lot of districts that I've been able to talk to and just kind of help support as they're transitioning into doing more learning outside of the traditional classroom. So it's been really good to be able to just kind of work and support teachers within that work. The other thing is just kind of creating just resources to be able to help teachers, students just kind of embrace creativity and just get out of this mindset that creativity is just about having this ability that is given at birth, and if only a select few have it. And so, but just getting them to understand that it's a process. They can learn how to be more and more creative if they give themselves the space to do it. So working on some things along those lines, and then also building out my own YouTube channel and just kind of getting some things going there. So yeah, so that is kind of in a nutshell what I'm in the process of working on.
That's cool. I'm trying to remember when it was. And speaking, you're talking about YouTube and stuff. Maybe was it 2.5 years ago that we went out and you did that? You were doing your little kind of the little creative. I was out there playing my drum, and man, when was that? Was that like 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was. I want to say it was. I think it was during the summer, and it was probably around maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. And so, edu journals, it's something I do want to bring back and do more of. And so, as I have kind of transitioned into some new roles, I feel like I have a little bit more freedom to do that again. And so, but yeah, I love highlighting educators and the work that they're doing. And so, and thank you for giving me your time and being the first part of that series. So.
Oh, it's a good experience. That was fun. And then being behind the camera too. So, we're often in front, or I'm sorry, behind the camera. That was my experience in front of the camera. Like I said, we're often behind it. And when folks ask us to be in front of it, it's sometimes it's uncomfortable. I don't know if by you, are you,
It's interesting, and so it kind of depends on the experience. I've had experiences where it can be a little bit nerve-wracking just having that transition of being in front of the camera instead of being behind. I've often shared that some people just don't like seeing themselves on camera. So I've always given the little quick hack of if you're recording yourself, and this may be something that's a great tip for you guys out there, that if you don't like seeing yourself on camera, just dim the screen brightness. You don't see yourself, but your camera's still recording. So you can avoid having that moment of just like checking yourself out and seeing, oh, I don't like the way I look. You can just actually get the recording done. So yeah, I think sometimes I've run into that issue of just not having or not feeling 100% comfortable in front of the camera. But for the most part, I enjoy it and can usually be a little bit easier to deal with in front of the camera as well as behind. So
yeah, and it's kind of funny. The comfort level, when I was in, I think it was Philadelphia last year, I was interviewed, and so I was in front, and when you're here by yourself, we're in your studio doing stuff, you're like, I'll just mess up, boom, just go again. But when you're like in front of people, and you're like, I'm trying not to make a mistake, and it's just the whole process of doing that. And I think sometimes you just gotta go ahead and make that mistake. It's going to happen, and let it flow. And so if you're listening to this and you're thinking about, if you watch those bloopers from movies, they all make mistakes. It all happens, and just go with the flow. Just let it happen.
My favorite part.
I love the bloopers. I did a blooper reel like 2 weeks ago. It was cracking me up when I was watching it. I was like, and there was, I haven't done one since then, but
we need more of those.
More of those bloopers. It's funny.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with that. Just the part of just doing it, and so just getting out and doing it, and just putting yourself out there and just making those mistakes, because everyone does it. The person that you're following, the person that you are looking up to when it comes to creating content, they make mistakes. They are re-record. That's the great thing about video, is that you can redo it. You can reshoot it. You can do it again until you think it is at the point of being where it needs to be able to put out. So just get out there and do it.
So I'm doing this right now. I'm going to send a message to my family here real quick. So we have 4 people living here, and I'm like, I think everyone's on something. So I was like leave the internet bandwidth for me just for right now.
Yeah, the joys of living in 2020.
So kind of maybe segue or shifting. So talking about that, I mean, I'm losing track of days. I'm like, today's Wednesday, and I know because I have it on my calendar that we're doing this today.
That's the only reason.
Man, but last week, I think I was telling folks today, I think last week, the end of last week was really my hardest. It was the hardest as far as like, um, of, and I enjoy doing what I do, like helping educators and working with them, but it's like, man, I'm worn out. I'm tired. Everyone's, we're both in Texas, and everyone's got different, regulations up in, some people are like, I know people that are just, they haven't even gone outside. They're like, they just go outside to throw trash. And, I've been going out cycling, and, it's helped me, but last week was just tough. It was hard. And, I don't know about you, but how are you motivating yourself right now with this? How are you motivating yourself to, I mean, you said the last time you were out shooting was when I was down there. But what are you, I know you said you did some stuff today, I think you said with teachers, but what are you doing to kind of motivate yourself?
Yeah, I think that was the last time I went out and actually did street photography. So I've been able to still do photography. I just kind of switch gears and do different styles of photography. And so I think for me, it's been good to be able to try some different things, some things I've tried in the past, and maybe retrying them and just kind of honing those skills. I do some macro photography. I've done some product photography, and just kind of played with certain things and just kind of trying things out. I've also gone through, and I like to edit and edit photos and edit videos. And so I've actually gone back and re-edited some of the photos that I've taken before, and just trying a different style, learning certain things anything that I've ever wanted to learn. I am in this mode right now that I refuse to spend this time or let this time waste not coming out with new skills, not coming out with new abilities, because this is a perfect time to be able to learn. We are confined in certain ways to either our homes or at least our cities. And so I've tried to do my best to just kind of really push myself to be able to really hone the skills that I've wanted to, and just kind of dive into to the things that I've really wanted to learn. So I've done a lot of just kind of doing some of those things. Coffee helps a lot in the mornings, just to kind of get going. But then also just kind of connecting with people who are like-minded as well. They're trying to grow, and they're trying new things, and they're being creative. We did the creative challenge not too long ago, where we
that was cool.
Asked people to take either photos they've already taken, or take new pictures and tie them to lyrics. So that was something that we did. Ken Shelton, myself, and Jeff, that we were able to come together and just kind of just challenge ourselves to be able to take lyrics that we've probably listened to. And the great thing about that, I was able to discover songs that I had never heard before.
Yeah.
And it was actually interesting that I was actually able to, I got certain songs that I would have never thought that this person, that was music that they listened to, but it was one of those things where it really stretched me to just kind of think and just kind of listen to new things. And so, yeah, just trying to connect and also just kind of stretch myself a little bit.
So a couple things you said that triggered. First, going back, we were talking about going back and looking at some of the stuff you've already worked on before, and just taking a different look at it. I like that. That's cool. That's neat. And so if you're out there thinking of how to kind of trigger those creative juices, that's a great idea. Go back and look at some of the work you've done already. I mean, photography, art, video, and approach it differently. Take a different perspective to it. Do a different color tone to it. I like that idea. I've got.
I would even just one more thing on that.
Yeah,
I would even encourage just to kind of take those bad pictures. Go through your camera roll and find the bad pictures. One of the things I would encourage you to do is just crop in, scale it up, do something that's completely different, and see what you get. You may come up with some very interesting backgrounds or some color gradients that you can actually use in other ways.
I think that's a good idea, because we tend to take pictures, and I think it's a good and bad thing. We live in a digital world. Back in the day when we had, I remember the 110 film and that little tiny camera about that big, and you didn't know what you were going to get. You hope, you look through the viewfinder, and hoping that what you shot would come out when they process the film. And now it's almost bad that because you take a picture with your phone or your camera. Oh, let me look at. I'm gonna do it again. Yeah. Hey, move over here. And so it's almost like maybe challenge. And I don't know. Maybe this would be a challenge for. We can maybe this will be a new challenge to try out. Maybe we can start this up. But people take picture without looking at the result. Just like, frame it, take it, and go to the next one. And you not look at the actual picture. Just like maybe that would be a cool challenge to try out.
I actually have a friend of mine who shoots. He actually owns a film lab, so he processes photos. And it's one of those things that it's funny because I've gone out and if you look at his camera, you would go, that's a digital camera, but it's a film camera, and it's one of those things where he'll often say he's limited to the amount of photos per that he can take per roll. So it's one of those things where he's very mindful and very intentional about the photos he takes, instead of what you may often see as people just taking 1,000 pictures and they hope that one out of every 100 is actually going to be beneficial for something that they're going to do. So I think that's a great challenge. One of the things I shared with the group that I was talking with today is actually talking through some challenges. And so actually a blog post that I put up today as well. It's 5 challenges that you can do while you're quarantined. And so
Ooh, I like that.
So there's some things there that I would definitely encourage you to just kind of check out, because I think there's a couple of things. One is being able to just position yourself in a location and not move your feet and to take 10 photos. Because one of the things that happens in that is that you're forced to be able to see all the different opportunities for photos. You may take the first 2 or 3 and you're like, this is easy. But then all of a sudden you get to 5, 6, you're kind of like, okay, what am I going to take a picture of now? And then you get to 7 and 8, and it becomes even more difficult. But as you do that more and more, you start to discover that there are so many things that you can capture, and in so many different ways. And so, just thinking about ways you can kind of stretch yourself and kind of think through situation and see things in a different way.
So you said keep your feet put, take 10 pictures.
Find a location, just plant your feet and don't move your feet until you've taken 10 photos.
Pictures. That's cool. I'm going to try that. Tomorrow. And then there was something else. You were talking about something else, but it slipped my mind. But I went and grabbed. We were talking about the intentionality when we have that film, the film camera, because you're saying your friend has to like really think about it and not just snap. So I want to say maybe 7 years ago, I went to a antique store, thrift store, and picked up a Polaroid land camera, and I was like, cool decoration. And then I started looking at it. I'm like, I wonder if I can resurrect it. Found some website that told me how to, I know how to do the soldering and stuff, but he replaced the old battery.
Website.
What's that?
There's always a
website. And so replaced the battery with like, I think 2 AA's or something like that. And I was able to find at that time, Amazon had the Fujifilm for that Polaroid, but it was like, at that time, I think it was like I paid like $29 for 10. Wow. So it was like, oh man, this is an expensive, project, but I loved them. So like, for example, this was one, it may not focus there or not, but there it is. So that's my daughter. We were outside. So let me practice with the camera. And it's one of those where I was like, I don't know how it's going to come out. And then, you take it out and you do that whole, wait 10 seconds or whatever to let it, process. And I was like, oh man, this came out cool. And then I ran out of the film, and the other day, a while back, I was looking for it. Yeah, that's not going to happen, because it was like $99 for like a 2-pack of 10.
Wow.
And I was like, well, it was good while it lasted. So it was like, if it ever goes down, or if someone ever makes the film available for it, I may pick it up again. But someone would have to really want that and pay me to take the pictures with that. But
I would definitely say that's an expensive project, but it's a fun project.
I love it. Yeah. So you gave us ideas for a little challenge there. And we talked earlier about, that mindset that people may have that, I'm not creative. I'm not an artist. I don't draw. I'm not good at taking pictures, or we hear that a lot by in our circles, and around, people say I'm just not creative. I just don't. Which I don't think. I think everybody is creative. Different levels maybe, but what are some things that when people say that, and then you kind of gave some ideas as far as photography, but let's think kind of maybe get deep, maybe, I don't know. When people say they're not creative, what are some things you could say to them, or encourage them, say, you are creative? I mean, you might have already said this before, but maybe like some practices or some things to kind of help them along the way to move to that.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think one of the things I would tell you is that I do agree that everyone has a level of creativity. I think that we need to really think broader about the definition of creativity. I would say my mother, when she came up with disciplines for me as a kid, where she was very creative, and so there is a way of being able to apply creativity in a variety of different ways. Photography, drawing, we would say that those are obviously creative or artistic endeavors, but writers and people who, I would say every teacher is creative, because they are solving problems. They're definitely creative problem solvers, because they're solving problems on a daily basis with a large group of kids, and they are doing phenomenal things in the classroom that are creative. So I think that one of the things I would tell everyone to start with is just acknowledging the creativity that you're already doing. You may not have truly identified all the areas that you're being creative, but there are areas. And if you pause and maybe took out a journal and just wrote down some of the things that you're doing and just started to see some of the creativity there, I would tell everyone, start small. Whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Once again, this is a great time to be able to learn and to develop skills, but just start small. Find something that you could start to do, something new that you can just kind of explore. And even if it's something that you would say, I would never in a million years think of myself of being able to do it, just challenge yourself to do it. And before you start judging yourself about how well it looks, just simply do it. Complete the task. Share that with someone else and allow them to be able to give that feedback before you ever start to dive into judging yourself for what you've created. I think what you'll find is that a lot of people will be amazed at what you've created, and oftentimes they may come to you and want to know how you did it. I know several people that started with sketchnoting and thought they were horrible at drawing, thought they were horrible at being able to do sketchnoting, and never in a million years thought they could do it. And then they started doing it, and now people come to them and they teach other people how to do it. So I would say start small, find those areas where you can just kind of plug in and learn and apply. Don't be caught up in the often with our culture today, the often challenge of comparing yourself to others. You don't know how long or how many years that person has spent creating or refining that craft. And I would just tell you to start. Don't compare yourself to others, and just be willing to learn. There are so many people that are sharing. There's so many videos that you can jump onto Claudio's YouTube page and his website, where you can learn so much to get started with. Adobe Spark is an easy tool for you to start with and learn and really grow. There's Premiere Rush, which is a great video editing tool that you can start with, that is free to get started and just kind of jump in and just learn and develop. There's so many tools that are available. It's just really about just giving yourself the space in the room to be able to explore adding creativity to whatever you're doing.
I like that you said the starting off small, and that's so key. That I've a lot of folks that watch some of my videos, and I'm super appreciative of the folks that watch the videos that I share, and so, what are you using to create the stuff? I want the camera that you have, and then it's like, well, I love the camera that I have. It's great. But then it's like, and then they want me to put it like, can you help me figure out package? And that's like, a lot of times I'll ask, budget, what's budget? But I say like start small.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, before I did it with this camera, I had a different camera, and before I did that, I used my phone. I did
Yeah.
streaming on the phone, and you did do a ton on the phone that you know you, honestly, I don't know what I would do without the phone like this. Like if you take it away from me, I'm like, man, I was like, I don't know before, but and then you mentioned something analog and the sketchnoting, which if you're not familiar with sketchnoting, it's so basically my interpretation when I see it, you're basically taking notes, but you're using sketching, using symbols and images that you draw to represent kind of the idea that you're either listening to or watching, kind of note taking, and
Mm-hmm.
I when I saw it happen, when I kind of I don't want to say it's a trend, but as I saw it, maybe when I jumped in and saw what's going on, what it is, I'm like, this is pretty. First of all, it's cool because I like to draw, I like to doodle. I always doodle when I'm in meetings, drawing notes, and every time I draw doodle, I do remember what happened at that point or what was said at the time. It's just weird. I don't know why it happens, but it does. But that I love then a lot of people are taking it to the digital format. They're sketchnoting on iPads,
Mm-hmm.
but the analog part, and we talked about film, the analog stuff. I think it's still really relevant today. The analog. What do you think?
Yeah, I would 100% agree. I think for me, one of the things when I'm starting a project, I usually like to have that analog piece where I'm just away from the computer and I am just able to just kind of think through and get my thoughts down. So I think journaling is a great way to just kind of get started with some of these creative projects and just kind of working through. It's one of those things I would just encourage just to. It goes back to just starting. If you don't have the tools, and tools do help, and I am not going to be one of those people that says tools don't help. Yeah, you definitely can increase the production value if you're doing video by adding a few things to be able to improve that. But there is a part of just starting, and sometimes that is just getting a sheet of paper and just being able to do the process. Maybe it's something that you going back to the whole sketchnoting. Maybe there's something that you've taken notes on, or maybe you're in a time where you're capturing notes for something, or you've had something that you've written or notes that were from another meeting, and you just take those notes and just transition them over into a visual format. That is something that you could do very easily just to get started. And the fact that for something like that, that's something that you're seeing. That's something that you don't have to feel like you're going to be judged about. You're just going through the process and learning. So anytime you can find a way of just doing something analog, I completely encourage you just to do it, because sometimes that's the easiest way to just get started.
Yeah, I mean, if I was able to get a picture, I flip my camera, I probably could, but unplug stuff. But my desk is loaded with these. I I don't know what it is. I like the whole flippy thing there. You remember drawing the little cartoons on there, making the little animations about it. I just like the whole thing.
Of course.
Putting it on here, and then I have different colors. So when I'm done with these, I swap out. I don't know. It's just I still function that way. I still work that way. Even though I have an iPad where I do notes, I still revert to that. It's just I have the show notes in a notebook. It's I don't know. It's still the whole. I love it. The tactile, the touching. And you said the key is just to get started, just to get going, get moving, get doing.
You'd be amazed. I know people who are, even as we're in the midst of this, who've just started doing certain things. Certain people who have never streamed before, who started streaming, and now they have been doing it for 30 days, or they've been doing it for a month and a half, and they have learned so much during that time. So it's just important just to get started. Just find something that you want to be able to learn, and give yourself time to be able to commit to doing it for a certain period of time, and see how far you come. I think it goes back to, I always share Google. Do you remember the Google goggles?
Yes. Yeah.
So many people say that was a failure for Google. I don't think that was a failure. Yes, it didn't become a product that's used by the masses, but they learned so much through that process. They learned so many things that now we're benefiting from in the technology that we're using, that a lot of that technology is rolled over into other platforms. They learned in the midst of a failure and doing something. So I would just encourage you just to start, because you'll be amazed at what the process looks like on what you look like on the other side.
The whole thing of failure was a big, I think for many, I think we're close in age, and you were not allowed to make mistakes. You were it was like school was, it's like it was, there's one way to do this is the only way, but I can do it this way.
And
I can do it,
and the answers are in the back of the book.
the answers in the back of the book. I can do it in my head. Why do I have to write it down? Because it's like, but I know how to do this. I can do it in my head. I don't need to write it down. I need to. It's like, first of all, you don't trust me that I know how to do it, but it's the whole was. There's one way to do something, and then there was you can't make mistakes. And I think for many, I'll speak for myself. It was one of those things where you didn't want to take a risk. It was one of those things like, because I did not want to mess up. I did not want to fail. I did not want to look foolish. And, but at one point for myself, is several years back, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And, I took the leap to get onto YouTube, and like, some people are not going to like the stuff. Okay. That's, it doesn't bother me, but I think there's a ton that say, oh man, this was really helpful. And those are the ones that are kind of like encourage me, and I'm going to do it. If you don't like it, hey, well, then start your own channel, do your own, create your own stuff. And
that's so true.
The risk is that leap, man. And I'm glad I did it. And then you tell yourself, why didn't I do it sooner? Why didn't I start sooner? So, this is, I think 6 weeks now since like spring break for us, because we had spring break and then it was boom, we're closed. It's all
exactly.
So 6 weeks. So if you think about, if you've been out there for like 6 weeks, let's say, man, I've always wanted to learn to play the guitar. Well, if it was me, it's like I would have already had 6 weeks of learning the guitar to this point. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and then I started thinking, man, and it's not something that I wanted to do, but let's just say it's like I could, from 6 weeks ago, I would have known a lot more about how to play guitar now. So if it's photography 6 weeks ago, you would learn a whole lot more now. So I don't know how much further from here on out, but it's like, don't wait. Just like, don't wait.
Along the same lines of that, I would also say it's important for us to learn how to cut things out. And so I had a former coach who used to always say, you have to learn how to trim the fat. And I think sometimes we also, in the midst of this process of being creative and applying more creativity to whatever we're doing, or maybe learning a new skill, thinking about some of those things you can just cut out that maybe you've been doing, or even old ways of thinking that you can just start to reevaluate and start to remove the things that are just clutter. Mm-hmm. I am slowly becoming more of a minimalist. I would not in no way, shape, form said I am full on a minimalist, but I think it's something that I've been able to, as I look deeper into that, have discovered that there's just a lot of things that we just kind of tack on, and we either do because it's the way we've always been taught to do them. But I would just encourage us to kind of also take this as a time to be able to remove those things, so you have the space for you to be able to actually pursue some of these things that maybe you've been really passionate about, but you've never done before.
Yeah. Totally agree, man. 100%. 100%. Man, I'm looking at the time. We're pretty good on time. But maybe kind of shifting gears here, and let's nerd out a little bit, maybe.
Finally.
Gosh, Claudio, why did it take so long? So one of the funny things
that's all we were going to be talking about.
One of the funny things is, the platforms that I'm an iPhone user, and Albert's an Android.
I've never held that against you.
No. And so, but it's that's one of the things, like, I live in this environment, iOS and Android. And although I'd say I do have an Android device right here that